Well, welcome, guys, to the Couples Academy show. As you know, it's Friday, and Friday is Ask the Experts, and we're excited about that because we're back from 2023. We're in 2020. We're back from 2022. We're in 2023, and we're ready to dive in deep. And so, as you know, Friday is all about you. It's about you asking the question based upon your situation. So whether you're single, dating, in a committed courtship, engaged, married, in a separated state, whatever your situation may be, listen, post the question. Don't wait till the end of the show because we won't get to you. Listen, you need to be fighting to get to the front of the line because most of you are struggling with particular issues and you're looking for breakthrough and transformation, and now's the time to do it. I'm excited because I'm accompanied by my fellow practitioners, my fellow Foundry brothers. We have Jeff Witt and Roland Bradley. Good to see you all. Listen, before we get started, just a couple of quick announcements. Last Chance Weekend coming up February the 10th through the 11th. Get in while you can. It's going to be a special one. We always try to do something special during Love Month because obviously we have, Valentine's Day and things of that nature. So it's going to be an incredible experience if you're ready to really revamp, transform, restore the relationship because you are a couple in crisis. Also, we have Unearthed that's going to be starting January the 30th, going all the way through April 17th, 2023. It is a 12-week program for women, and it is phenomenal. And we're going to be following that up a week later, I believe, or no, that week, or we'll put it up on Monday. Foundry also is going to be in the mix. We have a brand new group that's forming. As you know, our Foundry experience is next weekend. We've got 45 men flying in from around not only the United States, but the globe. And we're incredibly excited about that. And so listen, guys, we're going to dive right in. We don't want to waste any time. Post your questions. I do want to acknowledge Ben. Ben always writes a dissertation. But I think it's worth reading this morning while we wait for your questions to come in. It says, "Good morning from Nashville, signing up for Foundry soon. Shout out to Jeff. Looking forward to Foundry. Men, if you haven't already done a discovery call to get information on Foundry and get off your butt, blessings to all the practitioners. Shout out to Lakeisha. Watch her show, Sex is Pinnacle to a Great Marriage. If anyone's been on the fence, contact these folks and start living your best lives." Then he goes on to say, "Not the BS best life, social media, family, fitness, freedom, that's wealth. Those three will boost your relationship to the next level. No questions because my practitioners are answering them." I'm loving this. And he finishes off, "Don't waste your time. You can't get back. Don't waste time. You can't get back. You are your problem. Fix it." That's what I'm talking about. So we're excited for the transformation that he's been making. He's been an avid viewer and listener and has been a part of the community for some time, has worked with many of the practitioners here. And so we're starting to see the light right at the end of the tunnel for him and his journey with his spouse. All right, guys, we're waiting for your questions. This is your time to ask them. If you don't have any, this is going to be a really short show. But what we'll do is go to a quick commercial. And on the other side of this, we want you to ask your questions.
We're really excited about Foundation. It is a new group program where couples are gathering from all around the world twice a week, couples who just want to have a thriving, successful, amazing marriage. No really well-built house is built without a foundation. As a matter of fact, without a foundation, it can't stand. It would just crumble right into the ground. We are going to interview experts and other successful couples so that you can get a glimpse into the lives of other people who are doing what it is that you desire to do, who have and are accomplishing what it is that you want to accomplish. And we also have over 500 videos available for you to watch of all of our teaching. Everything that we've ever done, every topic that we've ever covered will be accessible to you.
So guys, if this sounds exciting to you and if this sounds like something you've been waiting for, go ahead and just give it a try. We're literally giving away a 15-day trial for $1. And then after that, it's simply $3 a day. And so is your marriage worth it? Is your future worth it? Join the community today. Just click that button and meet us on the other side. All right, well, guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. It is Ask the Experts. Obviously, you can see some of the new programs that we have coming up. Foundations is incredible. We're excited about that. We launched that at the tail end of 2022, and there's going to be more announcements about that. But listen, we got some questions. We're going to dive right in. Let's get to it. Number one from Ellie or L. Empathy is huge, but is it enough alone with change in bad habits without doing work after infidelity? I'm going to read that again. Empathy is huge, but is it enough along with change in bad habits without doing work after infidelity? Now, I'm kind of confused by the question because you just mentioned changing bad habits. So that is the work. You just explained empathy. That is the work. Now, it's not all of the work, but certainly it's a step in the right direction. Those are two critical things. And I think one of the challenges is that oftentimes spouses feel like their partner, doesn't display any type of empathy, no compassion. They don't emotionally connect with their spouse. They're not willing to change bad habits that they were engaged in during the affair. So that is a part of the process. Now, we do walk you through 3 steps. We talk about your marital recovery, your individual recovery, and the affair recovery, and there are steps within each of those stages, but certainly you're doing something. But a lot more is required, and that's why it's a journey. And oftentimes you can't do it on your own. You need the support of others, and that's why we're here at Couples Academy to guide you through a process. But how would either of you answer that particular question?
I would say that the work is a daily journey. That's exactly it. It's the daily things that you do that uproot the bad habits. So you can't just kill a bad habit. You have to replace it with a good one. So that's a constant life altering thing because you never arrive. This idea of arriving at some space of joy or happiness, I'm not saying that you won't achieve those levels, but when you get there, you're going to find out very quickly that what you thought was the end goal was just the beginning. And then you do it again, and you'll find out what you thought was the end of that is just the beginning. So when we begin the expectation process that I have a full life and that I want to die empty, I do not want to die with my music left in me. So I want to make sure that I'm in this constant process of getting out the best things that I've always had in my nature from childhood and expressing those and rebuilding those and living a life by design and not default.
And that's good, Jeff, because a lot of times the betrayed partner, if they be honest with themselves, they need to acknowledge what they've done. And you can't expect your partner to just get over it. That's not how it works. You have to be intentional. You have to be willing to put the time in, and you have to be honest about the things that you've done and realize the pain that you've caused. And so when we show that level of empathy, we're putting ourselves in our spouse's shoes, and now we can understand a little bit better why they hurt, why they have the pain, why they respond and react the way that they do. But it has to be an intentional, everyday, daily task that we do to overcome the things that we've been through.
Very good. Here's another question from A. How do I explain to my spouse that certain scents trigger me? It's interesting because when I do discovery calls with people, the question is, how do I talk to my spouse about this? Or how do I share with my spouse that? Or how should I? And I'm just like, just do it. Like I'm trying to understand. Sometimes we get caught up in our own head. We're struggling with paralysis of analysis. And I think what we're trying to do is avoid a situation, avoid drama, avoid the shutdown, avoid an argument. And so the reality is you can't tiptoe your way through a situation. Now, listen, if you're respectful in a healthy conversation and it's not attacking, right? So when we talk about rules of engagement for effective communication, you want to make sure that you're not sharing your feelings while you're in your feelings. You want to make sure that you're not accusatory and that you're pointing the finger. Once you've gotten through those things, simply say, hey, babe, for instance, maybe it's a perfume that she wears. And maybe there's something triggering about that perfume. And so prefacing the conversation prepares her for a conversation that's going to happen. We talk about all the time in the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's a way to communicate with a person to drop their guard down so that they're not on the defense. You can acknowledge things that you love, that you like, that they do well before you come in with the critique. And when you share what it is that you don't like explain the trigger, explain what you're going through and how it makes you feel, right? And so when you do that in a comprehensive way, it should result in a better reaction than if you just come out of left field. That stuff stinks. I don't like that because so the way you show up will determine the atmosphere that's created in that dialogue, and then will have an impact on how she responds to what you share with her. That would be my approach to how do I do it. Now, I just use perfume as an example. It could be anything. But to me, when you create a safe environment where you two can express thoughts and feelings, it goes a lot better than when you don't set it up, when you don't preface it, and you don't create that environment. Jeff, I see you chomping at the bits. What are your thoughts?
I agree with everything you said, because that open communication always needs to be present. But I would love to set that up as support for a bigger question. How do I become untriggered by the world around me? How do I have control over the emotions that I actually create in my body, but I'm allowing outside stimuli to run how I feel? That's a deeper question. It's going to take some investigation, and it's definitely a conversation for another day. But I just want you to have that question in your mind, because a lot of us want to change the world around us, and the world won't necessarily change every time we want it to. So sometimes we have to learn how not to cope, not to coexist, not to get through, but to thrive in the face of stimuli that typically would cause us pain, hurt. It's that
Roland, I'm sorry. I think, Jeff, you froze up. I apologize if I cut you off. But Roland, I want to go to you with this particular question. If a spouse refuses to be transparent after infidelity, would the other spouse be equally wrong to put a GPS tracker on the cars?
Well, it's one of these things, two wrongs don't make a right. And we have to find a way that we have a safe place to be able to speak, right? And so a lot of times what happens is the spouse doesn't want to be transparent. And so we find ways to go about trying to get them to talk. It's almost like trying to beat it out of them, or figuring, if I put this tracker on a car, then that's going to make them speak. It has to be a person's heart has to change in order for them to be willing to be transparent and find ways to want to engage in conversations that they know that they're doing wrong in. And so oftentimes we put ourselves in positions that we're spinning our wheels. I don't want to be transparent. I'm going to put a tracker on the car. So you put a tracker on the car and you follow them where to go, but they still not transparent to say, well, I was doing this, I was doing that. The honesty and the heart issue is still the matter. And you have to get a third person involved to guide you through the process of being able to understand what all of this looks like. Because otherwise, we're just compounding issues, one issue on top of another. So is it equally wrong? I'm not going to say it's equally right or wrong. I just think that there needs to be a conversation to be had to get you all to the place of being able to come together and speak on it.
So, Jeff, let's go over to you. Two wrongs don't make it right. Is putting a tracker on your spouse's car who is refusing to be transparent wrong?
I think the best idea is let your spouse put the tracker on your car, because if you have nothing to hide, you hide nothing. But at the end of the day, all you're going to do is secure your own confirmation bias. So I suggest you look that up if you don't know what it means, confirmation bias. If you put the GPS tracker on the car, what you're going to find out is that he's going to go someplace he didn't say he was. Sometimes that'll be a bad place. Sometimes people are so steeped in lies that they lie about things they should never lie about, because they create fantasies in their mind that people are going to get crazy about it. I used to do it to my wife all the time. I would go hang out with the guys until I was working late. I could have just told her I was hanging out with the guys. It might have started a fight, but I was still lying. And if my wife had a GPS tracker on my car, she would have swore in her mind that I was with a woman, even though that wouldn't have been the truth. So what I'm saying is, you're going to find what you're looking for. And so at the end of the day, without transparency, we have nothing. Without honesty, we have nothing. And with people lying on both sides and hiding on both sides, what you'll find is that if you start lying to cover things up and sneaking around, you will end up living a lie. And then one person is going to catch the horror story at the end of that.
Okay. Let's go to the next question. April Kirk says, my husband doesn't want me to keep bringing up his infidelity. I can't seem to move on because I get triggers on a daily basis. And all he says is, it's in the past, let's move on. And so, for me, my question ultimately becomes, have you two done anything outside of what you're trying to do on your own to fully recover and heal? I don't know. Have you worked with anyone who specializes in affair recovery and has guided you through the necessary steps so that you can get past the pain of the affair, so that you are not triggered, so that you can have these comprehensive conversations? If not, I would recommend you do that, because if you don't do that, then this is something that you're signing up for a long time. Like, literally, guys, it takes years to heal and recover from an affair if you're doing it the wrong way or through trial and error trying to figure things out. And so why waste all that time? Why waste what could potentially be a phenomenal relationship to remain in a pit because you didn't step outside yourself and seek help and guidance to get through the recovery? Let me tell you something. Triggers, if you don't know how to effectively deal with triggers, you will deal with them for the rest of your life. People have triggers from childhood that they still are traumatized with, that they've brought into their adult life and into their adult relationships because they never got the help, they never got the counseling, they never faced their fear, they never dealt with it. And so now, as an adult, you're adding more triggers on top of childhood triggers, and then you think that you could just get through it on your own. You can't. Now, I'm not making an accusation about you, but it's more of a broader topic that I'm speaking to those who struggle, because the two things that people struggle with the most are trust and triggers. So from the first question, my spouse is not being transparent, it's an issue of trust. The second question about triggers, if you don't learn how to properly manage those things, then life will never be, the relationship will never be what you desire for it to be. So please reach out and get help from somebody that can guide you through that particular process. Jeff.
One of the biggest reasons why you want to get help through these processes is, one, people who've been through this and gotten through this on the other side know how to show you how to get out of it. People, especially people who study it and have made it their life's work to do that. But second, and this is even more important, the things that you haven't dealt with from your past, whether it's infidelity or whether it's a childhood trauma, are the very source of generational curses. They're the very source and root of generational curses, because you're going to live in these fears. You're going to live in these traumas. You're going to experience the world and react in the ways that you react. And that is how your children are going to learn it. And that's how they're going to see it. And they're going to pass it down. And that's going to be economically. That's going to be spiritually. It's going to be emotionally. It's going to be physically, with diet and behaviors. It all starts with how we react to the world and how we have not dealt with our trauma. Don't pass it on. Break that generational curse and give Couples Academy a call.
Let's go back to A. It's interesting. He says, I have explained it to her, and it is a perfume. See, wow, that is triggering me. She's not willing to stop wearing it. By her actions, it is showing me that she doesn't care about my feelings. Reach out to us so that we can help navigate the conversation, because I don't know where there's a breakdown. I don't know if it's how you're delivering it. I don't know. But oftentimes, because couples do not know how to effectively communicate, a lot of problems go unresolved, and then they mount up, become huge, and it creates discord and dissension in that particular relationship. Here's another question from Abraham Seed. Would you guys agree that lack of prayer, friendship, and proper courtship is what brings forth most of these problems? Well, first of all, I agree that lack of prayer, friendship, and improper courtship definitely contribute to the problem in a huge way. Do I think that it contributes to most of the problems? I don't know. I don't know. I know that a prayer life is critically essential. And, one of the things that we talk about in Foundry in particular are the four securities, one of them being spiritual. And a lot of people, male and female, don't have a spiritual center. They may say, oh, yeah, I believe in God, but they don't have true relationship. They don't have true spiritual practices. And if I don't have a true spiritual practice, and if I don't tap into spiritual laws, and if I don't understand my spiritual authority, and if I don't understand my spiritual sense of self, then I'll never rise to the level that my creator has destined for me to be. So I'll never be the best version of myself. So I continue to operate with vices instead of virtues. I continue to have idiosyncrasies, habits, faults, and flaws that not just impact my life, but spills into my relationship. So, we can make a strong argument for this. And so this is why we say that you are the lowest common denominator in every relationship that you enter into. And when you focus on becoming your best self, and when you're committed to expansion within yourself, then it will help you to become a better you, which will ultimately impact the relationship for you to have a better relationship. So there are the ones that you mentioned, plus a host of other things that definitely contribute to the demise or the struggle that people have in their relationship. I want to go to another question, and Roland, I want to go over to you, and then Jeff, you could pick up. This is from Tiffany. My ex-husband has started treating me so well after divorce, December 2022. Do you think he's regretting the decision to divorce, or do you think he's only being nice because he feels better?
Well, that's crazy. I'm pretty sure a lot of times we make decisions out of emotions, out of selfishness, and then once we make a decision, realize that what I had wasn't that. After what I realized, that this grass that I thought was greener on the other side, I found out that it's just turf. And then we start realizing, oh, I made a mistake. I made a bad decision. And so now we have to start being nice to the very person that we've been so mean to. And he may very well feel better. He may very well feel like, oh, he's free now. But the hammer is going to come down to the point where he does realize that possibly he made a decision. And so oftentimes we make these decisions. Maybe he feels like, well, I've done the right thing for me. And he wants to be nice to smooth it over for you. But the reality is, when we make these decisions out of selfishness and out of what we want, everyone is going to suffer. It's not a happy day. It may feel like that right now, but anytime you're on a roller coaster, anytime you are experiencing the ride of your life, it has to come to an end. It has to stop, and he's going to soon figure that out.
I want to go over this question. I want to start off, and Jeff, I want to hand this over to you. Lenitra says, I am emotionally drained and exhausted in relying on the premise of hope for my marriage and husband. We've experienced betrayal in our marriage, and there is no accountability for his actions. Let me tell you something, sis. I agree with you 1,000%, right? Hope is not enough. We talk about dope peddlers. Many of our spouses have become hope peddlers, and they just want to give us hope that things will get better. But the reality is, hope will not do it. When you come through Couples Academy and we walk you through a process, we don't want you to have hope. Now, people do come from a space of hopelessness and they leave hopeful. But when you go through our journey, what it gives you is certainty. Jeff talks about that all the time when we're doing certain exercises, that's what people are ultimately looking for. Certainty. I don't just want to believe. I don't just want to have hope. I don't just want to have faith because there's no evidence of that. I want certainty. And when you have that within yourself and within your marriage, then let me tell you something. It shifts and changes things, and you have a future that you can believe in. Jeff, I want you to weigh in on that because I think this speaks to a heart of the issue that you bring up all the time.
Yeah, well, certainty exists beyond trust. With trust, there's still risk involved. Certainty, there's no risk. There's no risk. Trust, there's still risk involved. So a lot of people say, I want to restore the trust of my marriage. No, you want certainty. You want to know for sure that doorknob is going to turn and the door is going to open, that the floor is going to hold you, that nothing's going to fall in. That's certainty. Trust is like, I don't know, but I'm going to let it, we want to be all the way certain. I do want to read the premise that she had in the beginning, though. She says, is it possible to have a marriage if a spouse suffers from narcissistic personality disorder? Even if the work is done on their part, would it work? Can the marriage survive? Okay. So first of all, I just want to say, look, we got to be real careful with narcissistic personality disorder unless a test has been taken by a professional.
Very true.
Who's experienced in the field. A lot of us have narcissistic tendencies. I know I do. Okay. But that doesn't mean that we're going to live a narcissistic life. What we have to find is the root of the pain, because narcissists will never admit they're wrong no matter what about anything. All right. So what we have to do is find the root of that pain. We have to get to the bottom of what is causing them to live the lie that they're living. Because at the beginning of all of these problems, I don't care what disorder, what life you're living that is incorrect, that feels dysfunctional, at the source of it, there's a lie. If you can get him to talk to one of us Foundry guys, or talk to me or Hassani and get something set up, if he's even willing to have a conversation with some men who may be living a life that he wished he was living. All right. If you can get him to have a conversation with us, we can try to penetrate that heart a little bit and try to get underneath. It doesn't work in every situation. I'm not going to say, Foundry's perfect or that it's even right for every single person or at this particular time in their lives. But what we have found through the men that we've bonded with is that change can happen. Change can happen, and it can be so dramatic that your spouse you won't even recognize them anymore. We get that all the time.
All the time. And that's what keeps us inspired to continue to do what we do. Like when we hear the testimonies from those who've gone through the program and from the wise, because those are the ones who will truly keep it real. It's one thing for a man to say, oh yeah, I'm changing on this, on that. Well, let me speak to your wife, right? She becomes the measuring stick or the metric by which we can believe what it is that you say. And then beyond what you say, it's about the fruit, right? You could say all day long what changes you've made. I want to see the evidence and the fruit that you bear, because that is what will tell the truth. Anyway, guys, we hope you enjoyed today's Ask the Expert session. We're excited about 2023. There's a lot of great topics that we have coming up. We want to encourage you, sign up for Unearthed, sign up for Foundry. There's a lot going on in 2023 that we want you to be a part of. But until then, have an amazing weekend, and we will see you on Monday for another great episode. Take care.